In this video, I'm going to briefly demonstrate our machine learning volatility models. So these models forecast future volatility for the next bar. So you can see that I have just opened a new chart book here. We're looking at the E-mini S&P 500 on a 5-minute interval. And we can see that we have our volatility models loaded. And if I right click and go into studies, you can see the only thing that we have loaded right now are our machine learning volatility models. So to illustrate how they work, I'm going to run a quick back test. So to do that, I'm going to click on chart, scroll down to replay chart, and let's open our control panel. So we can see we have our control panel with our usual settings of single chart to replay, accurate trading system backtest mode. So that's exactly what we want. And let's make sure that we have our trading activity log because we want to monitor our query counter here. So right now it's at 0. Let's click play and OK. So we're reloading the data. And we also want to make sure that we're not connected. So we're not connected to the data feed here. And once this data finishes loading, we can start the back test and we can actually see our machine learning models in action. So let's make sure we're not processing anything in the background. Let's go back. So I'm going to restart the back test. I just clicked home. We're at the end of the period. So I just hit the home key to go to the beginning. And then I'm clicking play again and clear all trading data for symbol and account. Okay, let's check our trade activity log, and our query counter is at 1. Once this changes down to 0, denoting that we have completed all of the background processing, we can start our back test and we can look at our machine learning model in action. So it's at 0, so we're going to minimize this and we can click play. So once we click play, what we see is the actual and the forecasted volatility. So if I just pause here for a moment, we can see here, in this particular bar that's still developing, the actual is at 2, the forecast is at 3.2. So it's in floating point precision. So we're forecasting that this bar should be a little over 3 points in terms of the range, in terms of the volatility, the amount of variance in that time frame. So let's slow this down a little bit more so we can actually see what's happening when the bar is actually evolving. So we slow it down a little more. So we can notice here that while the bar is developing, our forecast isn't changing. This is because we make a forecast at the beginning of the bar. So our machine learning models at the beginning of the bar is making a forecast for what the amount of volatility should be within that bar. And we can see that the bar's volatility is developing while our forecast is simply static. So this is how we know that our model is actually making forecasts. And we can then easily point out, if we just look at these spikes here, we can point out periods. For example, here, we can easily see periods in which we had an increase in volatility, meaning something significantly had to have changed because our model is looking at the order flow over time. So it's designed, it's been trained to look at order flow over time and make a forecast for volatility. So we're going to stop this. That was the E-mini S&P 500 on the 5-minute interval. Let's look at another example briefly. So let's look at, how about we check out gold? So we're going to go down to gold. Let's grab the October contract, and we're going to change the symbol. So we connected to the data feed to load this data, and once it's loaded, we'll disconnect again. Okay, so we see our machine learning models have refreshed. And then instead of looking at the 5-minute interval, I'm just going to click here, and I'm going to hit 3 on my number pad and enter. Hitting 3 on the number pad and hitting enter allows me to change the time frame from a 5-minute interval to a 3-minute interval. So we're now at the 3-minute interval for gold. We're back at the beginning of the period. We're going to click play, clear all trade data for symbol and account. We're going to disconnect from the data feed. Let's check our trade activity log. We want to make sure that our counter is at 0. So once this changes to 0, we'll be ready to check out our volatility models for gold on the 3-minute interval. So it's now at 0, and let's click play. And we can see again, our system, our volatility models are making forecasts for gold on a 3-minute time frame. And again, we can see at the beginning of the bar, our models are making a forecast, and we can see that the bar is updated. We can see that the magnitude of variation, the volatility, is changing. And as it's changing, we can actually see how close it is to our forecast. So it's easy for us to identify significant shifts in volatility because we can literally see the coloration of these bars. We can see where the actual volatility significantly increased relative to the implied volatility from our machine learning models. And these are the type of models that power our risk and trade management.